What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're just going to run through a job. This is a pretty simple, straightforward. This was a door skin replacement and blending both ways. So blend quarter panel, blend front door. This is paint code FT from Ford, blue diamond. Should be pretty straightforward. All I really need to do, I need to get this door and sealer. I'm not going to worry about sealing my edges. This base coat, this Ultra 9K, covers extremely quick, so I don't have to worry about that. And yeah, I'll show you a little bit of a blending technique that I just kind of switched over to doing with U9020 with Ultra 9K. This also works in De Beer 900, so base coat additive is what it would be in your system. So if you use De Beer, same process works in that. So I guess without further ado, I'm going to go mix up some GS908 dark gray sealer, and we'll seal this door, and then we'll get to doing our blends and get the store painted. Alright, so I got suited up, got my VersaFlow on. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to use my Welcome fan jet. Get any crack, crevice, hole blown out and get this thing tack ragged. I have sealer mixed up. We'll just go ahead and get it done. Here's an often overlooked thing. Tack rag the back of your panels. Not only does this make the backside clean, but it keeps anything from back here going towards the front. So keep that in mind when you're doing this. Okay, let's go ahead. I'm going to use, this is pretty much my everyday sealer gun, 3300 GTO Segola, the Tech Air Cap, about 23 PSI. And just go ahead. This is only going to take one nice wet coat. So I'll do the inside first, then I'll move to the outside, and I'll show you guys how smooth this lays down. This is P30 sealer, by the way. That's it. Nice single wet coat. Spot right there. Alright, so now I got a couple of nibs in this I actually just seen. Not a big deal. I'm gonna fix those and remove those before I put base coat on this, because if I don't and those stand up after I clear it, if I go to denib them, then I'm gonna tear my clear off, my base coat off, and I'm gonna have a dark gray spot. So it's really, 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 really important to make sure that your sealer is nice and clean and you don't have any big chunks of crap, because that will hurt you in the end, because like I said, you'll have a gray spot. Depending on how picky your shop is or how picky you are, that could force a repaint, and I don't like doing that. So let's go ahead and check out how smooth this door is. All right, nice and smooth, right? And that's just one coat of sealer. The nib, got a couple right there. I'm gonna sand those. It's the only spot on this that's really dirty. So I will denib those, and I'll show you how I handle that. And this is the rest of the job. Like I had mentioned, we're gonna blend the front door and this quarter. So yeah, I'm gonna go get some sandpaper after a flash cycle, and we'll denib this door and get it in base coat. All right, so like I mentioned, I'm going to denib this, and it's really not gonna take a lot. So all I'm going to do, I have my interface pad off of my BA Kovac sander, and it's just nice thin. And I've got K800 Kovacs paper again, it's called Lemon. But basically all this is gonna take is just that. Like just a little bit of sanding, nothing crazy. I'm not trying to get a whole bunch of sanding dust in the paint booth, so just smoothing these out. And they're really not that big, but this is going to save me later from having a gray spot when I polish this. And now obviously I just sanded on this, so I'm gonna have to tack rag the entire thing again, but that's not the end of the world. Also off camera, I did spray the color out. I hadn't sprayed this color out yet, so I made a spray out card. These are just metal spray out cards. And I made this little stick out of a couple of paint sticks and a pair of magnets from Harbor Freight, just covered them in tape. And I can stick it on the booth wall. Color match looked great, so we're gonna go ahead and roll with this. This is just the standard variant. It was a newer formulation, it apparently got updated, so I went ahead and sprayed it out to verify that it still matched, because sometimes if you paint it for any length of time, you know that they'll change the formula and it's completely different. It doesn't make any sense. So I made sure to do that, got it mixed up. I'm gonna go ahead and tack rag this, and then we're gonna spray some blender on our blend panels. And I'll show you kind of the change that I've made in using my base coat blender, because it's a little bit different than the last couple of videos that I've made. So I have blender mixed up in this gun. Blender is just clear base coat. That's all there is to it. Basically what I'm gonna do is a nice wet, even coat on both the door and this quarter panel, and I'm going to dry it completely. Before, I was spraying into this wet, and I was having a weird issue with being able to see the edge of my blend. So I switched to completely drying it, finishing my blend all the way through, even through my control coat, and then doing one more coat of blender on top of my entire panel. And it seems to work a lot better, and you'll see at the end of this, it also helps you to see, because it adds a gloss to your actual blend, so you can see if your blend actually looks good or not. So I'm gonna go ahead and get a coat on all of this, and then we'll go grab our Segola and spray some color. Okay, there's my one coat. Go ahead and dry it with my little fan bed here. Now, when I say dry it, I am going to completely dry this. I don't want anything wet left on the panels. I just want all of this uniform, a nice coat of blender dried on there, and then we'll complete the blend. As you can see, they are totally dry, totally dry. Now, I'm going to go ahead and complete my entire blend before I use base coat blender again. I'll use it at the very end over every single part of my blend on this panel. So basically what that's going to do is any kind of stray stuff that might land down here, it's going to bury that in a coat of blender. So A, it's going to be cleaner, and B, as you can see, it provides a tiny bit of gloss. So I'll be able to see if my blend actually looks good or not, and I'll show you what it looks like once it's dry at the very end of this. So also, somebody on TikTok had asked me to go through kind of the blending process. So this is the perfect example. New door, gotta blend both ways. Basically, how I handle it is I'll do my first coat up and down. It's just a weird habit that I like to do. First coat up and down on the very edge, and then my second or my half coat will kind of start that blend into this door. But I'm gonna try to keep it extremely short. I don't need to have color clear down to that end, especially if this was color matched correctly. You should be able to keep it pretty dang tight. Same thing on the quarter. I'll just keep it nice and tight. And yeah, so I'll show you what that looks like now. Let's get into it. Like I said, I'm gonna go up and down, and then I'm gonna do my little half coat. Like that, and then like this. I'm just starting out my blend. That's pretty much it. That's my coverage coat blended. I've got to do a control coat, which is backed off the panel, kind of just dusted on to melt these two colors together. But that's it for my coverage coats. I don't have to worry about it from there on. Now I can do this quarter, same exact process, and then I can move on to that door. This goes extremely quick. Like that. My half coat. That's it. If you didn't notice, on my half coat, my second pass, I back up a little bit, 3-4 inches, and keep my overlap tight. And that's just how I keep uniform metallics, kind of keep control of it. And I know you probably look at this and you'd be like, man, you can see that blend. Obviously, it's wet paint, dry panel. Once this dries, it's going to look almost finished, but with waterborne base coat, you do have to do your control coat to finish out your blend. With solvent, kind of the same thing applies. You would do your coated base coat blender. You don't need to take it the entire panel, but I mean, it is a good idea because it does fill in some of that sand scratch. So say you went the entire panel, your coated base coat, allow that to start drying. It doesn't need to be completely dry for solvent. And the only real difference is you can't stack your coats like that. It's not wet on wet. You don't want solvents to react and cause a fry up. You want to do them individually, so you'll do your one coat, start your blend, dry it, then do your second coat. You can either step it as far out as you want to go on your first, or you can step it on your second a little bit farther. And then at the very end, it's like when you get through that second coat, you might back up and kind of do an orientation coat. You really just need to play with it and figure out what works best for whatever paint line that you're using. But this is how I handle it in Ultra 9K, and it seems to work pretty good for me. So let's go ahead and move on down, and we'll get that door in its coverage coats. And same thing on this, on the face of it, I'm gonna do 1.5 coats. On the inside, I'm gonna do 1 wet coat, like really wet coat, and we'll check our coverage before I go and clear this. I'll grab the light, shut the lights off and check it. But typically on a door jamb, I can get away with 1 nice wet even coat. So we'll see how this goes. That's it. Now I'm gonna go ahead and get my fan or my blowers set up on this door because I sprayed it pretty wet. I don't want nothing to start sagging. So I'm gonna tip it back a little bit, like so. Let gravity aid me and put my blowers on it and get it dry. And I've got this nifty little setup here that has these 2 blowers. Let me back you up. So these are Superflow blowers from Segola. I'm gonna get these set up here to dry this door. Lift them up just a wee bit. A base coat laid down wet. Now this is to ensure that I don't have any kind of sagging. If you've never had to sand on water base, I don't wish it on my worst enemy because it's not fun. But basically, before you turn these on, put a tack rag in front of them so you're not blowing dust and whatever crap all over your new panel. You just catch it. And we'll hit the flash cycle and I'll bring you guys back in before I do my control coat. And I'll show you what the blends look like all dry and what this door looks like before I control coat it. All right, as I stated, this is about 5 minutes later. Now you can kind of see where my blend ended, right? To me, I'm not worried about that at all. That looks pretty dang good. Really, it's just this has matting agent in it, and that's glossy, so that's really where that line comes in. So we're gonna go ahead, control coat this along with that, and then we'll do a coat of blender over the top, and you'll be able to see that there's no visible transition in color. And then I got this all dried. It's nice and smooth. That was just a coat and a half. The inside, nice and covered. I already checked that with the light and we're good there. So let's go ahead and just control coat this. We'll let that control coat dry for a minute, and then we'll hit it with a coat of blender. Set the flash for 15 minutes, and then we'll be ready to clear this job, and that's it. That's job done. All right, for my control coat, I am going to drop just a couple pounds of pressure. I do it by listening to it and feeling it out. But you can do 5 to 10 psi lower than what you sprayed your coverage coats at. That's just going to allow those metallics to lay down nice and smooth. And you do your control coat pretty far backed up from your panel. So I'm going to go ahead, demonstrate that. We'll let those dry. Then we'll get a coat of blender on this whole thing, and we'll check out what our blends look like. All right, that's it for that. Let's go control coat that new door. Really only necessary where the door is visible after the trim is put on, so I'm only going to control coat the face of this. Just saves paint. That's it. That's control coat done. I'm gonna give this just a few minutes to really dry, and then we're even gonna do a coat of base coat blender over this new door skin, simply because it'll show if we have any blotchiness or anything like that. Right now it looks perfectly smooth. Waterborne base coat, I don't care what system it is. Sometimes it looks perfectly uniform. You clear it, maybe metallics float around, and then it causes you an issue. So I'm gonna go ahead, let this dry. All right, now that that's dry, I'm gonna grab my blender. Just like my control coat, I'm only going to go over the face of this. It's not necessary to do where the trim sits, so again, just saving product. Okay, we'll let that dry. All right guys, this is just all flashed off. I'm extremely happy with these blends. They look nice. So I also am pretty happy with this door. It looks nice and uniform. You can see a little bit of that blender flashing off down there. Base coat blender also helps to ensure that you don't have any shifting in pearls and metallics. So it kind of acts like a barrier coat between your base coat color and your clear. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the flash cycle, let this dry 15 minutes at 100 degrees, and then we will mix up some CC250 and get back in here and finish this off. All right guys, so it's been 15 minutes. This is all dry and ready to clear, so I'm going to just go ahead. As usual, 4600, this is my trophy truck, special edition, DVR Titania Pro air cap, 1.2 XL nozzle set. And we're just going to go ahead and get 2 coats on this. I'll film the first coat. I don't really think it's necessary to film the second. You guys understand the point. So yeah, without further ado, I'm going to just go ahead and knock this out, and then we'll take a look at these blends, see how everything's looking. So far, I'm extremely happy with it. It blended out nice. Yeah, let's go ahead. right, and again for the inside, one nice wet coat, that's all it needs. All right, guys, so that is it. This has all been baked. It's all dry. I just went to lunch. It's probably been sitting for about an hour. But this job came out great. I have no complaints. My blends came out awesome. Clear looks slick. Didn't have anything pinched back, no goofy stuff. So yeah, I'll leave you guys with a couple of clips of this job. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I appreciate all of the comments, all of the shares, everything. Make sure to hit the like on this video. That kind of throws these videos into the algorithm so more people see them. So I appreciate that. If you're not subscribed, please click that subscribe button, the little notification bell. These are going to come out a heck of a lot more regular now that I've got it figured out on my phone. I was having an issue just finding the time to be able to edit these on my computer versus my cell phone. I can set my tripod up, put my microphone on, and just get them handled, get them done, and it doesn't take me a whole lot of extra time. So these are definitely going to be coming in way more frequently, and I hope to see more and more people on these videos. So again, I'll show you some clips of this, and I'll catch you on the next one.